Hey guys, this video is going to be a review of Risuko by David Kudler, which is a book that I got for review off NetGalley, so I don't have like a physical copy to show you. I read it on my Kindle. Also, I apologize because my voice isn't cooperating very well right now. I just woke up not that long ago and took allergy medicine, but I don't think the allergy medicine has kicked in, so here's the thing with this book. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I just did not enjoy it as well as I was hoping I would. And just for full disclosure right up front, I read the majority of the book, but I did not read the last like 2 chapters or so, I think, or the epilogue. I kind of reached that point and I was just like, I don't care at all about how it ends, and it was strange for me because typically if I'm going to put a book down and not finish it, that happens around the halfway mark. Like, I almost always try to get at least to the halfway mark to see if things turn around in a book, because I always really want it to. But with this book, I just, like, I kept going and I was skimming over certain parts. Like, I was skimming it so I could get an idea of what happened. The thing was, I didn't feel like I needed to read it any more than skimming, which I also think says something about the book. But I made it to the halfway point and I didn't want to stop reading it so much, mostly because I was picking up on the story from the parts that I was skimming. Like, I'd skim and then I'd read and then I'd skim and then I'd read, and I got enough of what was going on that I didn't feel like I needed to stop and I could just keep doing that. But then I got to like the last couple chapters and I still wasn't into it, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to read those. So I did read or skim, but like I said, I do think I got what was going on from skimming. I don't feel like I needed to read it anymore like deeply than that. And I just didn't read the last couple of chapters, and I don't think I've ever done that with a book. I just didn't feel like there was much of a plot there. This is supposed to be the first book in a series. Needless to say, I'm not going to read the rest of the series, which is also rare for me, because typically even if I only feel so-so about a book, I'll go on and read the rest of the series, but I'm not going to for this. And just, I didn't feel like there were any stakes in the story. I feel like I should have, considering, like, I mean, the main character is taken away from her family, like bought from her family, and taken by these strange people who she doesn't know to this place that she's never been, and everything, and all of that. You would think that I would feel like there were some sort of stakes, like there was something being built up or something like to be interested about. It's the strangest thing, because there's all of this stuff in the book where I feel like I should be interested, but I just wasn't. It just felt like nothing was happening and I couldn't bring myself to care. So many parts of the book felt like nothing was happening. I didn't like how the story was paced out and how it felt more like a day-to-day sort of thing, which can sometimes work, but didn't in this case. I don't think. It was just like, here's how the character's life is now that she's joined these people, and maybe something is going to happen later, but you don't feel tension about what's coming. You just feel like you're reading about her like life in a way that isn't very suspenseful or interesting even to me. And on top of that, the characters, I just did not care about any of the characters. I honestly cannot distinguish most of the characters for you. The main character is taken with a group of other girls. They're all supposedly going to be trained for the same thing. So she has these like group of other girls with her, and I honestly could not distinguish between those girls for you. None of them had personalities that stood out enough where when one of them talked, I remembered who they were. Kind of everything that happened with those girls blended together in my head, and they were like one bigger character because I knew nothing about them as people, which is kind of part of the story. I think they're supposed to be this sort of like, who are these people? I've been put with all of these strangers and things, but like I never feel like you learn about them in a way that's memorable in the book. You do get some characters like, and this goes for every character, not just the other girls. It's just that because they're like a group like that, was impossible for me to distinguish between them, or like I didn't have distinctive voices or anything. Even once you like get to know them over the book, I still felt that way. But even for the other characters outside of that, they just like, even when you learn about their backstory, okay, I don't want to spoil it, but there is an older like female character who at one point tells some of her backstory to the main character in a way where I feel like I should have been interested, but I wasn't, because I hadn't learned enough about this character already. And like I said, it's so difficult because I feel like part of that is what the author was going for, like this sort of mystery, who are these people? But at the same time, I wasn't given enough to care about any of the characters. I legitimately could not have cared less what happened to anyone, even the main character. And that's obviously a huge problem, because like either you have to have like a really, really amazing plot, and then maybe you can get away with having characters that no one cares about, but that's extremely rare, I think. Or you can have like really, really amazing characters to the point where people don't care as much about the plot, which I also think is extremely rare. But this book had like, I couldn't get into the plot. It felt like almost nothing was there plot-wise, and it felt like almost nothing was there character-wise. And so the consequence of that was that I did not care what was going on at all. I wasn't interested in the characters. I didn't feel invested in their lives, and the plot felt too slow, and like nothing was happening, to the point where I stopped caring about the plot too, and I just didn't care. And then that resulted in me skimming through parts of the book and in the end not finishing it, even though I only had a couple chapters to go. I also have to mention, and I've seen other people mention this in reviews, there's a character in the book who's Korean, and he's been brought to Japan to be a cook, because the lady whose name I can't even remember anyone's names, because like I said, they all blend together in my head. But the like noblewoman who has bought the main character and like who's in charge of like everything, her husband, who has passed away, brought this cook from Korea because he preferred Korean food over Japanese food, and so this Korean cook is still like doing all of the cooking. And obviously the book is in English instead of Japanese, and you can tell that the author wanted to make it clear to the readers that the Korean cook had an accent, like in comparison to the Japanese people. So the Japanese people all speak like standard English, but the Korean cook is given like an accent, and I saw someone describe it as him talking Southern, like American Southern. I'm not so sure if it came across as Southern to me. It more reminded me of Hagrid in Harry Potter, and I don't know enough about British accents to know if there's like a specific accent that Hagrid speaks in. There probably is, but I don't know enough about the different terms for different British accents. But that's what he reminded me of, and I get the desire of the author to make that distinction between the Korean cook's speech and the Japanese people's speech, and how, because he's doing it in English, like I don't know, I get why that would be like a difficult thing, but it did come across as weird, because you know that all of the characters are speaking Japanese, and so I do think that that could have been done well. I just don't know if it was done convincingly for me. It just felt kind of odd, and I feel like there would have been a better way to do that. But that's not like a huge fault I'll hold against the book in comparison to everything else, because I do understand what the author was going for and like why he wanted to do that. So yeah, if it isn't obvious by now, I just didn't like this book that much, and I'm not going to read the next one. And I think that's all that I have to say about it, really. I am starving right now, so I'm going to go get lunch. But I will see you guys later. Bye.